I am a volunteer for the police department of my city, which I will not name for I think very obvious reasons. I work for a private detective agency as an evidence tech, meaning I get to collect pubes and use condoms most of the time, but for the police, I collect evidence at crime scenes since the police have a small budget and can outsource this kind of stuff to civilians for free. I am more qualified than most techs, so I usually get to pick what crime scenes I want to work. I am also very good friends with a few homicide detectives and a lot of gang unit detectives. One time, I had to collect evidence from a murder at a mental institution. It's a pretty famous one too. What happened was a patient who was some sort of crazy, don't know much about mental illness, went bonkers and killed a nurse with his bare hands. Now, the killer was a big dude, maybe 6'1" and around 300 pounds. The nurse was a little Vietnamese woman who could not have weighed more than 100 pounds in total, and she was, if I remember correctly, under 5 feet tall. Anyway, my detective friend, Jerry, picks me up and we go to the crime scene together. When we get there, the uniformed officers are standing around, and there are nurses talking to officers, and they are crying their eyes out. We walk into the building. This particular hospital used to be a jail 100 years ago or something, so there were 3 identical 3-story red brick buildings. The guard towers were all taken down, except for one. They had pictures of it in the administration building, which was converted into the security center. It looked like any loss prevention room at any given Walmart or what have you, except there was a break room upstairs that had a really nice espresso machine. Anyway, we find out that it happened in Building C, which is the furthest south or on the left. As we are walking over, a uniformed officer walking in the other direction. He was pale, so Jerry made some sort of sick joke about getting spaghetti or something after this was over. We walk inside. There is a desk in the front, and 2 hallways with tan brick walls and white tile floors. The hallway to the left had a red line on the ground. The hallway to the right had a bluish-green line on the ground. Standing at the admin desk are the photographer and Jerry's partner, Florencia. We walk to the left hallway. When you enter one of the halls, immediately to your left is a stairwell that goes all the way up. Then after that are the cells. They are 8 by 11 and 9 feet high, with standard metal jail doors with the slot for food trays. The cells bear concrete floors and walls with a small bar window 5'6" off the ground. The surrounding cells had been emptied, but further down the hall and upstairs, there were still patients in their cells. The people in this part of the building were predominantly catatonic males, but through the stairwell, you could hear men screaming upstairs, and some laughing every once in a while. That was really creepy. But we get to the cell. The door is closed. We are standing back as the photographer is doing his thing. He takes a few photos of the cell door from various angles. The window on the cell door had a sheet of metal welded over it, and the window on the wall was blocked from the inside with something. Jerry opens the door, and I am standing 3 feet away, and I can already smell the blood. He opens the door, looks in and says, "Holy fuck," then backs away. Florencia goes over to the door and says, "Dios," or some Mexican shit, makes the sign of the cross, and whispers in his fingers. Whatever. He always did that when he saw a dead body. He opens the door all the way, and I look in. All I can see is red. So I get closer, and I can make out 2 bodies, one large, one small. The ground was covered in blood and hair. The bed was overturned and propped, blocking the window. There was a blood spatter, both cast off and impact everywhere. Both bodies were naked. There was a pile of blood-drenched clothes in the corner. The large body was obviously a male. Even though his penis had been removed, he still had a scrotum, and it was full of his testes. His hands were pretty mangled. deep cuts all over, all the way up to his elbow. Most of his fingernails had been ripped off. You could see some stuck to the walls. One was stuck in the smaller body, and a few were on various spots on the ground. He had large chunks of hair and scalp missing. The smaller body was first thought to be of a young male with his penis removed, but after closer inspection, we found that it was a female with an extremely mutilated vagina. Her hair was forcefully pulled out and thrown around the room. Her eyes were gone. She was missing some fingers and her left leg. I am pretty used to seeing gore in person, so most of this did not creep me out. But what did creep me right the fuck out was a Bible on the table that is welded to the wall. The Bible was almost completely clean, except a few pages had bloody fingerprints on them, and one page had a cross drawn in blood on it. Creepy as fuck, man. But what happened is, the big guy went crazy. He beat up the nurse. She was unconscious while he was mutilating the shit out of her. He bit off her fingers and ate them, broke a lunch tray and used it to mutilate her. Then he cut off his penis, stuck it in the nurse's throat, cut his own throat and bled out. The nurse's eyes were nowhere to be found, but the autopsy showed that he pushed her eyes so far into her head that they were lodged in her brain. Not very paranormal, but easily the most disturbing crime scene I've ever seen. I've got more crime scene stories if you want me to type them up. I won't go as deep into detail though. This took a long time to write. Sorry if you were expecting some crazy, creepypasta twist ending or something. I grew up in a cookie-cutter, suburban housing neighborhood in Southern California. One of the ones in the early 2000s that literally every single house was the same plan and looked exactly the same on the outside. I moved there from the city of Los Angeles in middle school and fucking hated it. By the time I was in 10th grade, I had left school and was in a homeschool program that gave me a lot of free time. The town felt cultish to me due to its extreme religious citizens, Mormon and Christianity, because I had never been exposed to intense religion before. Note, I have nothing against these religions. It was just so far removed from my background that I was out of my element. The event I am describing takes place in 2013. My house was located on the last lot of development, and beyond us was beautiful 100 old oak trees, hiking trails, and natural wildlife. I spent a lot of time climbing trees and playing in nature. I had a favorite tree that I would walk past to get to the center of town often, and one day, I decided to build a treehouse and a tire swing. It was right off a trail that was very popular to get to schools and other places, so I thought it would be used a lot and was happy to share it with anyone passing by. I built the treehouse in about 2 weeks' time, and then started on the tire swing. When I was setting up the tire swing, I stepped on this patch of land that was extremely spongy. This meant it was hollow, and something was probably buried underneath. I dug and found this Ziploc plastic sandwich bag with yellow/white crust inside. I did not open it and thought that it was trash that had food inside of it at one time, so I put it in my bag and threw it away at my house. The next day, I returned to finish my project. Again, I stepped on some more hollow ground and dug some more. I found some weird fucking shit. I dug for a while and found another Ziploc plastic sandwich bag with the same stuff as before. The bag looked too new to be so buried far into the earth, so I knew it had to have been buried. I tossed it aside and kept digging. I then found a plastic sealed bag of pages with writing on them. Water had leaked into the bag, so the ink was smeared, but it just looked like pages from a small child's diary with scribbles and pictures. Odd. I kept digging, and then I found another bag with 1980s pornography that had been printed out from an old website. The watermark said 2000, but there was water damage on that. I then found a bag with old family photos that looked to be around the same era of 2000 to 2002. The photos were of a white family and all normal photos of people at a dinner table, a birthday party, and at SeaWorld. Same children, 2 girls and a boy, same mom and dad. I kept digging and found another bag of that crusty white/yellow shit in a bag. Under that bag was some children's homework sheets, and under that was another white/yellow crusty bag. I had no idea what to do with them. I did not want these things. There was only a few photos of the pornography, and they all had some sort of water damage because it was on computer paper. The only thing that was untouched was the family photos because it was film prints. So, I reburied them. I really did not know what to do. So, a few weeks pass, and I visit my new fort, and I have fun. I see other people have come and went, but nothing is disturbed. One day, I visit, and my whole fort is ruined and destroyed. I was saddened, but I chalked it up to just other teenagers my age messing with me, or kids just doing really stupid shit. My swing was still up, so I walked over to go and sit on it, and my foot sunk into the ground. I brushed some leaves away and saw a plastic bag. I picked it up, and inside the same exact Ziploc plastic bags as the other items was semen, clear as day, and a lot of it. I was so disgusted that I flung it away from me. It was not warm, but still in slight liquid form. I dug a bit with my hands and found more family photos than before, from the same era, same family. I felt extremely weirded out, and I had this gut feeling of just badness. Nothing really made sense. I put the stuff back and walked in a different direction of my fort, and saw a guy in his 40s by himself walking towards my fort behind me. I felt afraid, because we were hidden from the houses. The majority of the people I saw on the trail were kids my age or younger, because all there was is climbing trees and kid forts in the woods. He ducked into my fort, and I walked further in the opposite direction. I waited for a while, but it was getting dark, and the only path back to my house was to pass through my fort, and I was afraid he was still there. I did anyway, and sure enough, he was there. He had his penis out and was masturbating. He made eye contact with me and carried on, and I ran as fast as I could back to my house. I called the police and reported that a man had exposed himself, but nothing ever happened. I have not gone back since. A few years later, the area was burnt down. They could not pin it on anyone, so they said it was teenagers smoking cigarettes. I'm so sorry for how fucked up the first 2 stories have been. I spent the summer at our dacha, a simple place in a small village. I was about 12 years old at the time, and this particular weekend, my neighbor and good friend came over. He always had stories to tell about the area, the local well, the lantern at the edge of the village, the shadowy figure of a man, a hatch at the bottom of the quarry, and even a corpse found in the bushes behind the pond. It all began one morning when I got curious about the history of our property. I asked the locals about the previous owners, and they told me a tragic tale. The family who lived here was notorious for their alcoholism. A mother, 2 sons, and the father. One son died in a fire when he fell asleep with a cigarette. The other died from poisoning after drinking moonshine. The father disappeared, and rumors said he simply abandoned them. Eventually, the mother decided to sell everything and move to her relatives in the city. Soon after, when my parents were finalizing the sale of the house and land, the owner fell ill and passed away in the hospital, and never saw her. After learning all of this, I decided to check out the old house. We had not cleared out the attic yet, so I rummaged through the things left behind. I found a dusty suitcase with old, cow-related documents, some newspapers from the past, a couple of rusted irons, and a broken samovar. Nothing exciting. Disappointed, I went over to my neighbors to share my findings. We decided to take a walk outside the village, and that is where things took a strange turn. It was getting dark, but the evening light still hung in the air. That is one of the reasons I love summer. We wandered to an abandoned boiler room. The structure had no walls, just a frame, and the floor was missing, leaving behind only dirt and depressions. Among the debris We found old calendars from the 1980s, newspapers, and other forgotten objects. Satisfied, we decided to head back. As we walked past the boiler room, I glanced at it, and I wish I had not. At first, I noticed a figure. Then, as I looked more closely, I saw a woman sitting on the ground. She wore a white headscarf and a blue quilted jacket. Her large eyes stared straight at us without blinking, and it felt as if she was looking through us, even though she was at least 20 meters away. I was not the only one who saw her. My friend had stopped, dead in his tracks, his face frozen in fear. We hurried past, but then I felt compelled to turn around and look again, thinking she might be gone. Big mistake. When we went back just 2 minutes later, she was gone. The space around the boiler room was wide open, no places to hide, and even if she had been sitting there, there was no floor, so she should have been visible from where we stood. We ran home as fast as we could, my heart racing and a strange chill creeping over me. I had never been so terrified. We told our parents, but at first they did not believe us. But when we gave the same account again, they went to ask the locals what had happened. The old women in the village said the woman we saw resembled the previous owner who had passed away. A few days later, while sipping tea at the dacha, I found some old documents about the house. There was a photograph tucked inside. I froze. In that photograph was the woman we had seen. It was the former owner. So, that is the real story. Not a hoax, not a prank, just a strange, unsettling experience. Okay, here I go. Going in a woods last year for a photo shoot with photographer friend because school project. End of summer, pretty hot. White flowy dress and flower crown. Leaves on my feet and everything is fun. Blah 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 blah. Eventually, gets kinda deep in the woods and start taking shots holding a candle. Photographer friend says it is a bit dark and light sucks, so he tries to arrange lighting and find a good position. Wanders around for a minute or two. It is so beautiful. Suddenly, I see something dark from far away. I am really curious and just go ahead, warning friend there is something I saw. It's a wardrobe. A big, ebony wardrobe in the middle of the fucking woods. As I get close enough, I stop. Am hit with a horrible feeling of dread in my chest. I suddenly feel cold inside, as if all of the happiness has been taken away from my body. Photographer friend is a bit behind me, telling me she has been calling me for 2 minutes straight. I snap out of my trance. Whoa, that wardrobe is cool. We could take pics there, wait. Suddenly, the wardrobe begins to rumble and move. Startled. It begins to rumble really heavily. I take some steps away slowly, fucking scared. It stops. Photographer friend and I are scared shitless. We do not move an inch. Suddenly, I notice something seeping from the ebony doors. It was a dark liquid. Still don't know what the fuck it was to this day. Scared shitless and ran away as fast as I could. Flower crown fell, but I am too scared for my life. Photographer friend took her material where it was, back there as fast as she could, on the verge of crying, saying over and over, "What the fuck was that?" We run away, spooked as fuck. The fun little photo shoot take end. Later that day, when we were home, we tried to rationalize that it was an animal stuck or something, but nothing explains the dark liquid. On the way home, it started pouring. Nothing to do with the story, and pretty normal, given how hot it had been the past few days, but it added to the spoopiness. Okay, time to finally dump the time. I came literally 3 inches, face to face with a demon. Be me. Be around about 17 years old. Live in West Virginia. Walking my dog, Bosco, Beagle / German Shepherd mix in the evening. Nobody around, which is strange because there are usually a few people around, even at this time of night. Bosco stops abruptly, looking kind of panicked, sniffing the air. What's wrong, boy? Look where he is looking. About 6 meters away from us, under a glitchy street lamp, is what appears to be a black dog with absurdly pointed ears facing the opposite direction of us. Poor guy is probably lost, I thought to myself. Bosco is still completely motionless, shivering slightly, tail raised way up. Whistle at the black dog to see if I could get the poor fella over here. My face went, its neck did a full 180-degree turn to look straight at us, like a fucking owl. It had a human face. A human face. Bosco takes a step forward, haunches his shoulders, lowers his head, and growls like a feral beast, the fur on the back of his neck bristling. My face went. I have completely frozen in fear. The thing stands up and turns its body towards us without moving its head. My face went. Massive fucking lumps are moving under its skin whilst it looks at me directly in the eyes. My fucking face went. A 7-foot thing with basically no muscle mass splits through the dog's back like a cicada. I look away for a split second and try to scream for help. Apparently, so fucking scared that I could not even manage that. In the split second I looked away, the anorexic looking humanoid that burst through the dog's back was now literally 3 inches away from my face. I don't know how it got there so quickly, but it had even escaped Bosco, who was staring at it the entire time. I literally pissed myself in fear. This thing's eyes were pushed way back into its skull, and its jaw looked like it could expand to at least 3 times the size it already was. It stared me down for a few seconds before it let out an ear-splitting, human/pig scream. Bosco had bitten down on its leg and apparently crushed its shin with his teeth. It fell back onto its back and squirmed around like a maggot, trying to get Bosco off of its leg. My face went. It just fucking rips off its own leg and gallops away on all fours, or 3s in this case, into the surrounding woodland. Apparently, 3 different people called the police because they thought violent crimes were going on, and that, ladies and gents, is the story of how I came face to face with a demon and how my dog saved me. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you do and you want to hear more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below, as it lets the algorithm know that you like my content and it promotes it to more people. My goal for the channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers, and we're closing in fast, so thank you, and back to the stories. I have to get this story off my chest, for as it is so fucked up, and still creeps me to this day, and it all came back to me tonight, like it was yesterday. My wife at the time and I used to visit her parents in a state up north, about a 4-hour drive. It was an old, nice big house with rolling green hills in the backyard and big oak trees. We always stayed in the apartment above the garage, but this trip they told us they were renovating the apartment and had us stay in one of the bedrooms. We usually stayed for a few days, so we had luggage. I was putting our clothes in the dresser, and I came across some pictures in the bottom drawer. My wife was downstairs with her parents. Anyways, these pictures quite shocked me, and I am pretty sure they were not meant to be found. They were pictures of my father-in-law inserting objects into my mother-in-law. Okay, apparently this is the episode of weird fucked up stories, so sorry. Now, 3 things were fucked up about these pictures. 1. These objects were not your standard play toys that most of us are used to. He was inserting a tennis racket, the round end in one pick, a wine bottle in another. You can guess what end. I think a stuffed animal, and some other fucked up stuff. I freaked. I did not look anymore. Just quickly put them back into the drawer. The second creepy thing about the pictures were the smiles they had on their faces. Both of them. It was almost like they were, I don't know, like they had extended smiles. Like in the horror movies, with like the girl's lips are cut on each side to make the smile wider, or that clown on the American Horror Story. just fucking nutty smiles, like they were almost painted on their faces. What the fuck did I just say? Now, I know like no one was around when I was looking at them or standing in the doorway watching me. That adds relevance to what I'm about to tell you in a bit. Okay, the third fucked up thing about the pics is that her dad was retired from a very high profile job and very conservative, and I could never ever see him doing something like that, let alone her mom participating. Okay, I walked downstairs, freaking a bit, but managed, with some alcohol, to have dinner with everyone and save face. I remember everything was normal, like every other time we visited, and we went to bed later. During the night, I was woken up by something that freaked me out even more. My mother-in-law was standing at her doorway, just staring at me with that same fucked up smile, holding a wine bottle and a fucking tennis racket. I just flipped right there, could not move. I was paralyzed. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, she was gone, like in 2 seconds, the wife sleeping, snoring. Now, it seemed so real, but I am pretty sure I was not dreaming. I wasn't drunk, but it's up for debate still in my head. But if I had to stake my life on it, she was there at the doorway. At the time, I had all those questions in my head like, did she see me looking at the pictures? That is too crazy coincidental, and I fucking know all of them were downstairs at the time. Anyways, the next day, I am the last one up and walking downstairs, and my wife is really mad at me at breakfast. It was like she picked a fight with me for no reason at all. I think it was about the supposed shoddy job I did building a wall at their house the previous summer. And that was bullshit. She knew it, they knew it, and I knew it. I do very good work, but she kept on about it. And her parents just sat there and kind of smiled while we were arguing, like it was nothing. I remember looking at all of them like, what the fuck is going on? It was like a big fucking conspiracy. We never argued like that before, and even if I built that wall with cardboard, something like that would have never turned into the argument it did. We were all laid-back people, and that would have been a joking kind of thing. But my wife was on a different level that morning, and her parents were like twice as weird, just sitting there like they were. That freaked me out even more than the yelling act my wife was putting on. I was just so traumatized then by the whole situation that I went upstairs and packed and left the house with no objection from the wife or the in-laws. Not a word then. That was super weird too. I got into the car and ended up driving back home 4 hours by myself, getting more and more creeped out with each mile. My anxiety building. Was it the fucking pictures? Did mom manipulate the whole thing because of her weird American Horror Story ass the night before? No phone call from the wife the whole way home. No nothing. I did leave a "what the fuck is wrong with you people today" message on her parents' landline. It was 100% weird in that kitchen that morning. By the time I got home, I remember I was ready to leave my wife for sure and never ever wanted to see my in-laws' faces again, even though I liked them both a lot before and we got along really well. My wife came home a couple or a few days later, I think. We made up on the phone and she apologized, I think, but I was not there by the time she got home. Long story short, we got divorced not long after that. She never did really explain why she jumped on me like that morning. By then, I did not care how much we invested in that marriage, or how beautiful she was, or how much I still loved her. I was just too creeped out, and I knew things probably would never be the same again, at least in my head. I never did see my in-laws again, or my ex-wife again, or even tell her what I saw in the drawer that day, or what I saw that night. It has been almost 20 years. Too late now for answers. I went to Tepehuanes, Durango, for my grandmother's funeral, and we got to the funeral at night. It's around 3 in the morning. My grandmother from my father's side. It's a little town, but it's not too bad. My drunken uncles had a bonfire outside the funeral home. They were drunk as hell too. I decided to get away from them since they sort of disturbed me and I felt awkward. There was a little fountain to the left and there was a building next to it. It is dark and it's difficult to see. I walk next to the building and see someone with a ski mask walking towards me. My heart starts beating faster and I am thinking this could be a Sicario or someone from the cartels. He walks towards me and I just freeze in place. I see that he has a backpack and it is sort of big. He just walks past me and continues down the street. Fortunately, he did not do anything and he probably went home. Sometimes I wonder if the man I saw was a real person since I did not dare to touch him. Sometimes I wonder who this man could be and if he even remembers me. This was in March of 2013.